Commander Thexera pressed her six-clawed fingers against the control panel of the survey ship's silent observer. Her large black eyes studied the blue and green planet that floated before them in the darkness of space. This was their target, the third planet from the yellow star that the locals called Sol. Another routine mission, she thought to herself, her antennae twitching with mild interest. The Galactic Council had sent her team here to study yet another primitive species that had recently developed basic technology. These evaluations happened dozens of times each cycle, and they almost always ended the same way. Dr. Velnoth materialized beside her, his crystal-like body catching the light from the planet below. His species could shift between solid and energy forms, which made him perfect for reconnaissance work. Blue light pulsed through his transparent form as he reviewed the initial scans. "The readings are consistent with our expectations, Commander," Velnoth said, his voice sounding like musical chimes. "The dominant species appears to be bipedal mammals. Average height of 1.7 meters, relatively weak bone structure, no natural weapons to speak of." Thexera nodded, making notes on her data pad with practiced efficiency. Her own species had evolved from insect-like creatures on a harsh desert world. They had survived by burrowing deep underground and avoiding the massive predators that roamed their planet's surface. It had taken millions of years before they were safe enough to emerge and build their civilization. "Body mass?" she asked. "Between 50 to 100 kilograms on average. No exoskeleton, no claws, no fangs. Their teeth appear designed for processing both plant and animal matter, but they're quite small and dull compared to proper predator dentition." The commander's mandibles clicked together in what passed for a smile among her people. Another herbivore species then. Perfect candidates for the agricultural colonies. This was how it usually went. The council would discover a new species, evaluate their capabilities, and then integrate them into galactic society based on their natural strengths. Prey species typically became farmers, miners, or researchers. Predator species were either left alone on their worlds or carefully monitored if they proved too aggressive. The galaxy had been organized this way for thousands of years. It was simple, efficient, and safe. Prey species understood their place and were generally peaceful. Predator species were rare and usually too busy fighting each other to pose much threat to the established order. "Begin standard observation protocol," Thexera ordered her crew. "Deploy cloaked monitoring stations around their major population centers. I want full behavioral profiles within one planetary rotation." The ship's junior officers, a mix of various species from across the galaxy, began their well-rehearsed procedures. Monitoring pods the size of small asteroids detached from the main vessel and drifted toward the planet's surface. Each pod contained advanced sensors capable of recording everything from electromagnetic emissions to individual conversations. Lieutenant Zixon, a slug-like being from the water worlds of Kepler 438, raised one of his eye stalks toward the commander. "Shall I prepare the standard integration packages, Commander? Agricultural techniques, basic space travel, galactic trade languages?" "Not yet," Thexera replied. "Let's observe them first. But yes, prepare the herbivore integration materials. Based on these scans, they'll likely be classified as Class 3 agricultural specialists within the week." Dr. Velnoth shifted his form to focus more energy on the sensor arrays. "I'm detecting significant technological development, Commander. They have global communication networks, atmospheric flight capabilities, and they've even managed a few primitive expeditions to their planetary satellite." "Impressive for such a young species," the commander acknowledged. "How long have they had organized civilization?" "Approximately 10,000 of their local years, with major technological advancement occurring only in the last 200 years. Quite rapid development, actually." This was interesting but not unusual. Many prey species experienced rapid technological growth once they achieved basic agriculture and population stability. Without the constant threat of predation, they could focus their energy on innovation and exploration. The first monitoring pods reached the planet's surface and began transmitting data. Thexera watched as images filled the main view screen. Large settlements covered significant portions of the planet's landmasses. The structures were primitive by galactic standards but showed clear signs of planning and organization. "Population?" she asked. "Approximately 8 billion individuals spread across 7 major landmasses," Velnoth reported. "They appear to have developed past the resource scarcity phase of civilization. No major conflicts detected in the current period." "Excellent. Peaceful herbivores with stable populations make the best candidates for integration." The images continued to stream in from the monitoring pods. Humans, as they called themselves according to their communication intercepts, moved about their settlements in organized patterns. They had developed wheeled transportation, constructed elaborate buildings, and created extensive networks of cultivated food sources. Everything appeared normal and predictable. Thexera began mentally composing her preliminary report to the Council. Another successful discovery of a suitable species for peaceful integration into galactic society. Commander, called Ensign Kleptar from his station, we're receiving some unusual readings from monitoring pod 7. Define unusual, Ensign. The young officer, whose species resembled a cross between a bird and a small dinosaur, pecked nervously at his controls. The pod is detecting large concentrations of what appear to be various apex predator species within the human settlements. Thexera's antennae snapped to attention. Clarify that statement. The biological sensors are identifying multiple carnivorous species in close proximity to human populations. Species with characteristics consistent with pack hunters, ambush predators, and various other dangerous fauna. Dr. Velnatha's crystal form flickered with concern. Could the humans be under attack? Perhaps they're not as successful a civilization as we initially thought. The commander considered this possibility. It wouldn't be the first time they discovered a species struggling against their planet's natural predators. Are you detecting signs of conflict? Defensive structures? Mass casualties? That's just it, Commander, Ensign Kleptar continued, his voice filled with confusion. There are no signs of conflict. The predator species appear to be coexisting with the humans. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Coexistence between predator and prey species was virtually unknown in the galaxy. It went against every natural law they understood. That's impossible, Thexera stated flatly. Check your sensors for malfunction. Sensors are operating normally, Commander. I'm also detecting what appears to be deliberate construction designed to house these predator species within human settlements. Thexera felt a chill run through her exoskeleton. This was definitely not routine. Dr. Velnath adjusted his crystalline form to focus all available sensors on the strange readings coming from the human settlement below. His blue light pulsed rapidly with confusion as he processed what the monitoring equipment was showing him. The settlement the humans called London sprawled out beneath the cloaked observation pod. Millions of the bipedal mammals moved through their concrete and metal structures in patterns that suggested a highly organized society. But scattered throughout the civilization were creatures that made Velnatha's energy form flicker with alarm. Commander Thexera, please review these recordings immediately, he transmitted to the main ship. His voice carried an edge of panic that was unusual for his normally calm species. Thexera materialized in the observation pod within moments, her 4 eyes focusing intently on the holographic display that Velnath had prepared. The first image showed a human female walking along one of their paved pathways. Standard behavior pattern, the commander noted. Bipedal locomotion, no apparent distress. Wait for it, Velnath said, advancing the recording. Into the frame came a creature that made Thexera's antennae snap backward in shock. The ship's biological database immediately identified it as a subspecies of Canis lupus, a pack-hunting apex predator with powerful jaws, sharp teeth, and muscles designed for bringing down prey much larger than itself. Is the human fleeing? Thexera asked, her mandibles clicking nervously. No, Commander. Keep watching. The impossible happened before their eyes. The human female was connected to the predator by some kind of flexible tether. As they watched, she reached into a small container and offered the beast what appeared to be processed food. The predator accepted the offering calmly, its tail moving in what the database suggested was a positive emotional display. This cannot be correct, Thexera said, her voice barely above a whisper. Run a full diagnostic on all recording equipment. Already completed, Commander. All systems are functioning perfectly. More footage streamed in from other observation pods positioned around the planet. The images were consistent and equally disturbing. Humans of all sizes and ages were interacting peacefully with various predatory species. Large cats with retractable claws walked calmly beside human children. Smaller canines sat obediently while humans touched their heads in what appeared to be an affectionate gesture. Perhaps the predators are injured or sick? Thexera suggested desperately. That might explain their passive behavior. Velnath highlighted a new recording. This footage suggests otherwise. The image showed a large open space that humans had designated as a park. Within this area, dozens of the canine predators were running freely, displaying clear signs of health and vitality. Human adults and juveniles moved among them without any protective equipment or weapons. As they watched, a human child no more than 1 meter tall threw a spherical object across the grass. A predator easily 3 times the child's mass immediately gave chase, its powerful legs covering ground with frightening speed. Thexera braced herself to witness the inevitable attack. Instead, the predator gently grasped the sphere in its jaws and returned to the child, dropping the object at the small human's feet. The child picked up the sphere and threw it again. The predator repeated its chase, showing what could only be described as enthusiasm for the activity. "They are playing together," Velnoth observed, his voice filled with disbelief. A prey species child and an apex predator are engaging in recreational activity. The recordings continued to accumulate, each one more bewildering than the last. Humans were allowing these dangerous creatures into their dwellings. The predators were observed sleeping in the same rooms as humans, eating from bowls placed on the floor, and even interacting gently with human infants. "Get me Lieutenant Zixon," Thexera ordered, her compound eyes straining to process what she was seeing. The slug-like communications officer appeared on the display within moments. "Yes, Commander? I need you to access our xenobiology databases. Search for any recorded instances of voluntary coexistence between predator and prey species." Several minutes passed before Zixon responded. "Commander, I have searched all available records going back 50,000 galactic years. There are no documented cases of true predator-prey coexistence. The closest examples are instances of temporary truces during environmental disasters, and even those lasted only a few planetary cycles." Thexera felt her exoskeleton trembling. In all her years of service to the Galactic Council, she had never encountered anything that challenged the fundamental understanding of how species interacted. The galaxy was built on simple principles: predators hunted, prey hid or fled, and civilizations developed based on which category they belonged to. "Commander," Velnoth said quietly, "there is more." New footage appeared on the display. This recording came from a human structure that appeared to be some kind of marketplace. Humans were exchanging resources, a normal behavior for any civilized species. But moving freely among them were not just the canine predators they had already observed. Feline predators with sharp claws and powerful jaws walked calmly through the crowd. Smaller mammals that the database identified as domesticated prey species, rabbits, guinea pigs, hamsters, were being carried by humans in small containers. Most shocking of all were the aerial predators, birds with sharp beaks and talons that perched on human shoulders without showing any aggressive intent. "How many predator species are they coexisting with?" Thexera asked. Velnoth's form flickered as he processed the incoming data. "Based on current observations, at least 47 different predatory species have been detected living within human settlements. The number continues to grow as we receive more footage." The implications hit Thexera like a physical blow. This was not a case of humans somehow surviving alongside a few unusual predators. This was a systematic, planet-wide phenomenon involving dozens of species that should have been mortal enemies. "Send an emergency transmission to the Galactic Council," she ordered, her voice shaking. "Priority Alpha classification. We may have discovered something that changes everything we know about species interaction." As the transmission prepared to launch toward the Galactic Center, more recordings continued to arrive. Each one showed the same impossible reality: humans and predators living together in apparent harmony, as if the most basic laws of nature simply did not apply to this strange planet. Thexera watched the recordings in growing amazement and terror, knowing that what they had discovered would shake the foundation of galactic civilization. Dr. Velnoth made a decision that violated every safety protocol in the Galactic Council handbook. Against all regulations and common sense, he was going to infiltrate the human settlement directly. His species' natural ability to shift between energy and matter, combined with advanced holographic projection, would allow him to walk among the humans undetected. "This is extremely dangerous, Doctor," Commander Thexera warned as Velnoth prepared for his descent. "We have no idea how these creatures might react to an alien presence." "The risk is necessary," Velnoth replied, his crystalline form already beginning to shift and solidify into a more humanoid shape. "These recordings raise too many questions. We need direct observation to understand what we are dealing with." Within an hour, Velnoth had assumed the appearance of a tall, pale human male. His energy signature was completely masked, and his surface appearance would pass casual inspection. He materialized on a street corner in the settlement called New York, immediately surrounded by the organized chaos of human civilization. The first thing that struck him was the sheer number of predators moving freely through the area. His internal sensors detected dozens of the canine creatures within just a few hundred meters. Some were connected to humans by the flexible tethers they had observed, while others moved independently but showed no signs of hunting behavior. Velnoth walked carefully down the concrete pathway, trying to mimic human movement patterns. A large canine predator approached him, its powerful muscles rippling under a coat of golden fur. Velnoth froze, preparing to shift back to energy form and escape. The predator stopped in front of him, sat down, and began making a rhythmic panting sound while its tail moved back and forth against the ground. A human female approached from behind. "Sorry about that," she said cheerfully. "Max just loves meeting new people. He is very friendly." Velnoth stared in amazement as the woman reached down and touched the predator's head affectionately. The creature leaned into her touch, clearly enjoying the contact. This level of voluntary physical interaction between species was beyond anything in their scientific understanding. "He enjoys meeting strangers?" Velnoth managed to ask, his voice translator working to approximate human speech patterns. "Oh yes, Max has never met a person he did not like. Golden retrievers are known for being gentle and social. Would you like to pet him?" The woman was offering to let him touch an apex predator. Velnoth's energy form flickered slightly with shock before he regained control. I'm not familiar with golden retrievers." The woman looked surprised. "Really? They are one of the most popular dog breeds. Super loyal, great with kids, and they make wonderful family pets. Max here is actually trained as a therapy dog. He visits hospitals to help patients feel better." Velnoth's internal processors struggled to translate this information. The predator was not only living peacefully with humans, but was actively helping injured or sick humans recover. This contradicted every natural law he knew. "Therapy dog?" he repeated. "Yes, dogs have been helping humans for thousands of years. They're our best friends, really. Max can sense when someone is sad or stressed, and he knows exactly how to cheer them up." As if to demonstrate, the golden predator moved closer to Velnoth and gently pressed its head against his leg. Somehow, the creature had detected his emotional state and was attempting to provide comfort. The concept of a predator offering emotional support to potential prey was so impossible that Velnoth nearly lost control of his disguise entirely. Over the following days, Velnoth expanded his investigation throughout the human settlement. What he discovered challenged every assumption about species interaction that galactic civilization was built upon. The humans had not simply domesticated one or two predator species. They had systematically formed partnerships with dozens of different creatures over thousands of their years. His portable scanner identified German shepherds, Rottweilers, various cat species, and even reptilian predators living in human homes. At a location humans called a pet store, Velnoth observed the formal trade systems that had developed around these relationships. Humans exchanged resources for young predators, food designed specifically for different species, and tools for caring for their adopted creatures. "Are you looking for a particular breed?" asked a human male who worked at the establishment. "Breed?" Velnoth asked, unfamiliar with the term. "What kind of dog are you interested in? We have puppies from several different breeds. Labs, beagles, German shepherds. Each breed has different characteristics depending on what you are looking for in a companion." The human led Velnoth to a series of enclosures containing young canine predators. The creatures were separated by distinct physical characteristics, but all showed the same friendly behavior toward humans that he had observed throughout the settlement. "These are border collie puppies," the human explained, pointing to a group of small black and white creatures. "They are incredibly intelligent, originally bred for herding sheep. They make great pets for active families." "Bred?" Velnoth asked, though he was beginning to suspect the answer. "Oh yes, humans have been selectively breeding dogs for specific traits for thousands of years. Some for hunting, some for protection, some just for companionship. We have created hundreds of different breeds, each designed for different purposes." The implications hit Velnoth like a physical blow. Humans had not simply learned to coexist with predators, they had actively shaped their evolution, creating new subspecies designed to fulfill specific roles in human society. This was not adaptation or survival, this was systematic species manipulation on a scale never before documented. His investigation continued into what humans called veterinary medicine, an entire branch of their science dedicated to maintaining the health of other species. Humans had developed medical treatments, surgical procedures, and preventive care specifically for their animal companions. At a facility called an animal hospital, Velnoth watched human doctors performing complex surgery on an injured cat. The feline predator was treated with the same care and attention that humans provided for their own species. "We have been doing this for about 40 years, explained Dr. Lisa Thompson, the human surgeon. "Animals are family to us. We would do anything to keep them healthy and happy." As Velnoth prepared his report for transmission back to the observation ship, he realized that everything the Galactic Council understood about species interaction was fundamentally wrong. Humans represented something entirely new in the galaxy, a species that had transcended the predator-prey paradigm through cooperation rather than domination. The data he had collected would change galactic civilization forever. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened just 12 hours after Dr. Velnoth's report reached Council Station Omega-7. Representatives from 847 different species filled the massive chamber, their various forms of communication creating a symphony of panic that echoed through the crystalline walls. High Counselor Yethmar extended his ancient tentacles across the control platform, calling for order. His species had ruled the oceans of Kepler 452b for millions of years by hiding in the deepest trenches, far from the surface predators that had once terrorized their ancestors. The emergency nature of this session had pulled him from the secure depths of his home world for the first time in decades. "Council members," Yethmar's telepathic voice projected to every mind in the chamber, "we face an unprecedented discovery that challenges the foundation of our galactic civilization. Dr. Velnoth of the Xenobiology Division will present his findings." Velnoth materialized at the center of the chamber, his crystalline form pulsing with nervous energy. Around him, hundreds of species that had spent millions of years perfecting the art of survival watched with growing unease. "Honored Council," Velnoth began, "the species known as humans do not fit into any classification system we have ever used. They are neither predator nor prey. They exist in a category we have never encountered." The chamber erupted in confused chatter. Counselor Brickstack, whose rock-like species had spent eons hiding in mountain caves to avoid their world's crystal hunters, shifted his massive form. "Every species is either predator or prey, Doctor. This is basic biology." "That is what we believed," Velnoth replied. "But humans have formed voluntary partnerships with their planet's apex predators. Not temporary truces or desperate alliances, but permanent, beneficial relationships that have lasted thousands of years." He activated the holographic display system, filling the chamber with images from Earth. The first recording showed a human child playing with a German shepherd. Gasps and clicks of alarm echoed from the assembly as they watched the massive predator gently carrying a stick back to the small human. "This creature could easily kill the human child," Velnoth explained. "Instead, it has chosen to participate in recreational activity. The human feeds it, provides medical care, and offers shelter. In return, the predator provides protection, companionship, and emotional support." Counselor Drixona, a rabbit-like creature from the agricultural worlds, began trembling violently. Her species had spent their entire evolutionary history fleeing from similar predators. "This is impossible. Predators kill. That is what they do." "Not on Earth," Velnoth continued. He showed more footage: cats living in human homes, birds perching on human shoulders, even large reptiles being cared for by human families. "Humans have domesticated over 200 different species, including many we classify as dangerous apex predators." The implications slowly dawned on the assembled council. Representative Cloxare, whose insect species had survived by developing elaborate underground networks, clicked his mandibles rapidly. "Are you suggesting that humans have somehow convinced predators not to hunt them?" "More than that," Velnoth replied. "They have convinced predators to actively protect them. These creatures will fight to defend their human families. They have turned natural enemies into willing allies." High Counselor Yethmar's tentacles writhed with anxiety. His species had built their entire civilization around avoiding predation. The idea that someone could simply walk up to a predator and befriend it was beyond his comprehension. "How is this possible?" he asked. "We believe it involves a combination of selective breeding, behavioral training, and what humans call emotional bonding. Over thousands of generations, they have shaped these predators into forms that maintain their natural abilities while eliminating aggressive tendencies toward humans." Dr. Zalketh, the Council's chief evolutionary biologist, studied the data with growing amazement. Her species had achieved spaceflight by developing technology that allowed them to escape their planet's hostile surface. The genetic modifications alone would require knowledge that most species do not develop until they achieve interstellar travel. Yet humans accomplished this with primitive technology. "There is more," Velnoth continued. "Humans have not simply domesticated predators for their own benefit. They have created entire industries dedicated to the welfare of these creatures. They spend enormous resources on food, medical care, and entertainment specifically for other species. New footage appeared showing veterinary hospitals, pet food factories, and toy manufacturing facilities. The council watched in stunned silence as humans performed complex surgery on injured animals, developed specialized nutrition for different species, and created elaborate play structures for their adopted creatures. Counselor Fricksmell, whose species had survived by developing powerful defensive weapons, spoke with obvious confusion. They devote significant portions of their economy to creatures that provide no direct economic benefit? The humans seem to derive emotional satisfaction from caring for other species, Velnoth explained. They form deep emotional bonds with these creatures and consider them family members. The concept of interspecies emotional bonding was so alien to most council members that many struggled to process the information. For millions of years, galactic civilization had been organized around simple principles: predators hunted, prey hid, and the two groups avoided each other whenever possible. High Counselor Yethmar realized that their entire understanding of biological relationships was fundamentally flawed. What classification do you recommend for humans, Doctor? Velnoth's crystalline form flickered as he considered the question. I propose a new classification entirely. Humans are not predators because they do not hunt other sentient species. They are not prey because they have convinced apex predators to serve them willingly. I suggest we classify them as apex domesticators. The term sent waves of fear through the assembly. If humans could convince dangerous predators to become loyal companions, what did that mean for the rest of galactic civilization? What if humans decided to apply their domestication abilities to other species? The implications for galactic security are staggering, observed General Vextar, commander of the Council's defense forces. A species that can turn enemies into allies represents a level of social manipulation we have never encountered. High Counselor Yethmar made a decision that would reshape galactic politics forever. Humans will be granted immediate senior membership in the Galactic Council. We cannot afford to treat them as a standard integration case. The chamber fell silent as the full impact of this decision sank in. For the first time in galactic history, a newly discovered species would be elevated to senior status based not on their technology or military power, but on their unprecedented ability to forge alliances with natural enemies. The age of simple predator-prey relationships was over. 3 months after the emergency council session, the human diplomatic vessel Harmony drifted slowly toward Council Station Omega-7. Admiral Rebecca Thompson stood on the bridge, watching the massive space station grow larger through the viewscreen. Behind her, Captain James Mitchell scratched the ears of his golden retriever, Scout, who had been specially trained for diplomatic missions. Final approach confirmed, Admiral, reported Lieutenant Sarah Walsh from the communications console. At her feet, a small tabby cat named Newton stretched lazily, completely unaware that he was about to make galactic history. Remember everyone, Admiral Thompson announced to her crew, we are not just representing humanity today. We are representing Earth and every species that calls it home. The human delegation was unlike any diplomatic mission the galaxy had ever seen. Along with the usual ambassadors and scientists, the humans had brought their companions. Scout the golden retriever had been trained to remain calm in stressful situations. Einstein, a border collie belonging to Dr. Michael Chin, could perform complex problem-solving demonstrations. 3 cats named Newton, Curie, and Tesla had somehow become essential to crew morale during the long journey from Earth. Most unusual of all was Dr. Lisa Parker's emotional support python, Archimedes, who traveled in a specially designed habitat that maintained perfect temperature and humidity. The 7-foot snake had a remarkably calm temperament and had been trained to remain still during important meetings. As the Harmony approached the docking bay, emergency alerts began broadcasting throughout Council Station Omega-7. Species that had spent millions of years hiding from predators went into full panic mode as their sensors detected the approaching vessel. Multiple apex predator life signs detected on incoming human vessel, announced the station's automated warning system. All non-essential personnel report to secure areas immediately. Counselor Drixona, the rabbit-like representative from the agricultural worlds, huddled in her quarters with her staff. They brought an army of killing machines, she whispered, her large ears twitching with terror. This is clearly a military invasion disguised as a diplomatic mission. In the main docking bay, High Counselor Yethmar waited with a select group of the bravest council representatives. His ancient tentacles quivered with barely controlled fear as the human ship settled into its berth. Decades of conditioning told him that the approach of predators meant immediate danger. The airlock opened with a soft hiss, and Admiral Thompson stepped onto the station. She moved with confident grace, followed by her diplomatic team. Scout trotted beside Captain Mitchell, his tail wagging with excitement at the new environment. Einstein walked calmly next to Dr. Chin, occasionally glancing around with intelligent brown eyes. The alien representatives froze in absolute terror as they saw the creatures accompanying the humans. To their eyes, the humans had not come in peace, they had brought trained killers as an intimidation tactic. Honored council members, Admiral Thompson began, her voice calm and friendly, we come in peace, representing Earth and all her children. Scout, unaware of the fear he was causing, approached the nearest alien delegate. Counselor Teklar from Proxima Centauri B resembled a large, purple rabbit. His species had survived by developing incredible speed to outrun their world's predators. As Scout approached, Teklar's muscles tensed for immediate flight. The golden retriever stopped 3 feet away, sat down politely, and offered his right paw in the universal canine gesture of friendship. His tail continued wagging, and his tongue hung out in what humans recognized as a happy expression. He wants to shake hands, Captain Mitchell explained gently, recognizing the alien's terror. Scout has been specially trained in first contact protocols. He is completely harmless. Teklar stared at the outstretched paw in complete confusion. In his world, predators that approached this close were preparing to attack. Yet this creature was sitting calmly, making no aggressive moves, and actually seemed to be requesting physical contact. It wants to touch me? Teklar asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Scout enjoys meeting new people, Admiral Thompson explained. Golden retrievers are naturally social creatures. They form friendships easily. Slowly, trembling with fear, Teklar extended one of his furry appendages toward Scout's paw. The moment they made contact, Scout's tail wagged even more enthusiastically. He gently shook the alien's appendage twice, then released it and performed a playful bow. The gesture broke through millions of years of evolutionary conditioning. Teklar realized that this predator was not trying to kill him, it was trying to be his friend. This is incredible, Teklar whispered. How did you teach it to do this? Dogs naturally want to please humans, Captain Mitchell explained. Scout was born with the instinct to be friendly and helpful. We just taught him the proper diplomatic manners. As the initial shock wore off, other council members began to approach cautiously. Einstein demonstrated his intelligence by solving a puzzle that Dr. Chin provided, carefully manipulating colored blocks with his mouth to create specific patterns. The cats wandered around the docking bay, investigating new smells and occasionally allowing brave aliens to touch their soft fur. Dr. Parker carefully introduced Archimedes to the assembled delegates. The python remained perfectly still as she explained how snakes could be calm, gentle creatures when properly cared for. In human society, Admiral Thompson explained, these animals are not predators anymore. They are family members, companions, and partners. We have evolved together over thousands of years to create relationships based on mutual benefit and affection. High Counselor Yethmar approached Scout cautiously, his tentacles trembling. The golden retriever sat patiently as the ancient being examined him, sensing that this was an important moment. Your species has accomplished something we thought impossible, Yethmar said finally. You have created peace where nature intended war. The formal diplomatic meetings that followed changed everything. Human representatives shared their knowledge of animal training, veterinary medicine, and interspecies communication. They offered to help other species reconnect with their home worlds and the creatures they had spent millions of years avoiding. Within a year, human-led teams were working across the galaxy, teaching other species the art of domestication and peaceful coexistence. Planets that had been abandoned due to dangerous wildlife were resettled with human guidance. Species that had lived in underground bunkers for millennia learned to walk freely on their own surfaces. The galaxy discovered that Earth's greatest strength was not humanity alone, but the unprecedented alliance between humans and the countless creatures they had chosen to call family. The age of hiding from nature was over, replaced by an era of cooperation and mutual understanding. Scout became the galaxy's first interspecies ambassador, his gentle nature helping to bridge the gap between predator and prey across hundreds of worlds.